The Flower Communion was created by Norbert Chopchik. I did look it up, Lucy, thank you. Who founded the Unitarian Church in Czechoslovakia. He introduced this special service to that church in June 4th, 1923. For some time, he had felt the need for some symbolic ritual that would bind people more closely together. The format had to be one that would not alienate any who had forsaken other religious traditions. The traditional Christian communion service with bread and wine was unacceptable to the members of his congregation because of their strong reaction against the Catholic faith. So he turned to the native beauty of their countryside for elements of a communion that would be genuine to them. This simple service was the result. It was such a success that it was held yearly, just before the summer recess of the church. The Flower Communion was brought to the U.S. in 1940 and introduced to the members of the Cambridge, Massachusetts church by Dr. Chopchik's wife, Maya V. Chopchik. The Czech-born Maya had met Norbert Chopchik in New York City while he was studying for his PhD, and it was at her urging that Norbert left the Baptist ministry and turned to Unitarianism. The Chopchiks returned to Czechoslovakia in 1921 and established the dynamic liberal church in Prague. Maya Chopchik was ordained in 1926. It was during her tour of the U.S. that Maya introduced the Flower Communion, which had been developed in the Prague Church at the Unitarian Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts also. Unfortunately, Maya was unable to return to Prague due to the outbreak of World War II, and it was not until the war was over that Norbert Chopchik's death in a Nazi concentration camp was revealed. From this beginning, the service has spread to many of our Unitarian Universalist congregations and has been adopted along the way. People were asked to bring a flower of their choice, either from their own gardens or from the field or roadside. When they arrived at a church, a large vase stood waiting in the vestibule, attended by young members of the church school. Each person was asked to place their own flower in the vase. This signified that it was by their own free will that they joined with the others. The vase that contained all the flowers was a symbol of the United Church Fellowship. The significance of the Flower Communion is that no two flowers are alike, so no two people are alike, yet each has a contribution to make. Together, the different flowers form a beautiful bouquet. Our common bouquet would not be the same without the unique addition of each individual flower, and thus it is with our church community. It would not be the same without each and every one of us. Thus, this statement is a statement of our community.
Thank you, Barry. I now invite Morgan and Jessica and the ushers to help them bring up the flowers forward, and then we'll read a poem for the occasion. poem is called Opening Words for Flower Communion Sunday. It's by Thomas Rhodes, a member of another Unitarian Universalist community who's allowed us to use it in congregation.
We come in a variety of colors, shapes, and sizes.
Some of us grow in bunches.
Some of us grow alone.
Some of us are cupped inward.
And some of us spread ourselves wide.
Some of us are old and dried and tougher than we are.
Some of us are still in bud.
Some of us grow low to ground.
And some of us stretch toward the sun.
Some of us feel like weeds sometimes.
Some of us carry seeds sometimes.
Some of us are prickly sometimes.
Some of us smell.
And all of us are beautiful.
What a bouquet of people we all are. The following is an adaptation of Dr. Norbert Capek's words for blessing the flowers. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessings on these thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of life's most precious gifts. May we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed. And now I need Marquez and Miles to come and help too, because it's time to share in the flower communion. And the ushers will help, and Morgan and Jessica will stay and help. The children will go down the center aisle, pausing at each row until everyone has a flower different than the one you brought. As you take your flower, please remember to handle it carefully. It's a gift that someone else has brought to you. It represents that person's unique humanity and therefore deserves your kindest touch. Let us share reverently in this Unitarian Universalist ritual of oneness while we stand and sing together hymn number 76, For Flowers That Bloom at Our Feet. Did everybody get a flower? Okay, then you can put the extras back on the table in the back where they came from. And that's kind of what happens with intergenerational services. And now Sandra Mahoney will give us a reflection on the Unitarian Universalist tradition of dedicating the children.
Hello. In the UU tradition, children are usually named and welcomed into a religious community in a ceremony known as a child dedication. The child dedication comes primarily from our Universalist heritage. As early as 1770, Universalist John Murray saw no justification for baptizing babies, and instead chose to create a naming ceremony in which the congregation dedicated children to God. By the 19th century, Midwestern Unitarians were combining flower ceremonies with what they called christenings, although some Unitarians were also saying they dedicated children. In the late 20th century, geez, that seems like just yesterday, the UUs joined forces, and many Unitarian Universalists felt no need to mention God in their naming ceremonies. Child dedications have taken on several interrelated meanings. We welcome children into the world and into the religious community by formally giving them their name. We dedicate children to the highest ideals of life. The congregation dedicates itself to supporting the parents and guardians of the children as the children grow up. We rededicated ourselves to creating a more sane and just world, a world in which all children are welcome and may thrive. A ceremony of dedication is appropriate when a new baby is born, when a child is adopted, or when a family decides to join a UU community and wishes to have their children welcomed through dedication. There is no standard UU ceremony, and each service may use different words and elements from family, cultural, and religious traditions. As we join together to name and dedicate the child and ourselves, the identity and values of the church, community, and the family give the ceremony meaning. We affirm our commitment to nurture the child and hold the child in the fabric of community. Even a dedication done privately, not in the context of a public UU worship service, is a ceremony of blessings given and received, for we are all blessed when we welcome a child into the human family and give our blessing to the child's life as he or she begins their journey. The community hopes that every child receives love and affection, guidance, and nurture, so that each child may grow into the fullness of the promise of life. Mindful that such love is an honor and a responsibility, in a UU ceremony of dedication, we give witness to our values and our commitment to be a religious community that stands on the side of love for all creation. We form a covenant with the family to support them and to honor and recognize the preciousness of the child as the gift of life, entrusted to the care of both family and community. Unitarian Universalists believe that every child brings new life and hope into the world. We affirm the dignity and individuality of the child as we proclaim the child's unique place in the community of humankind. The UU community welcomes the child in love into the human community, into the spirit of humanity's oneness, and into the fellowship of life. Our UU faith community seeks to create a world filled increasingly with love, freedom, and truth. The rite of dedication includes the hope that the child's thoughts and actions in life will pass on to the future our heritage of freedom, service, and love, which the child receives from us.
Just before we start the dedication of the children, I'd like Morgan to come forward one more time for a special presentation. And could Ann Harper come up and join him?
Dear Anne, thank you for being present. Love, Morgan.
There's Morgan.
Thank you for being Morgan.
And thank you, Sandra. Please stand now as you're willing and able, and we'll sing together hymn 338, I Seek the Spirit of a Child. I now invite the parents with their children who are being presented this morning for dedication to come forward. Tammy Brandon with Benjamin, Sarah and Brian Dwyer with Jessica and Justice, Gina Martinez with Marquez and Miles, Pax and Emily Whitmore with James, and Shani with Jaron. We will now join in the Litany of Dedication. It's printed on the back of your order of service. Benjamin, Jessica, Justice, Marquez, Miles, James, and Jaron, we welcome you among us. We give thanks for your life and for the new hope that you bring. A budding rose we will give you, for it is the symbol of unfolding life and love. We will appreciate your uniqueness. We will teach you and learn from you. We will love you and respect you.
We will delight in your accomplishments. We will share in your sorrows. We will encourage you in every way as you grow into adulthood. And whatever may come to you, whether misfortune, affliction, or wrongdoing,
Parents?
We parents dedicate ourselves to do all that we can to provide you with roots so that you may feel safe, and wings so that you may fly.
You don't want to move this ball. You don't let the pitcher jump. So don't grab a little bit.
What happens if the picture jumps?
Then it doesn't look nice. Why are you trying to make it not look nice? Come on. Stop.
Oh, dance.
shouldn't look at it. Just be careful.
Power off. Power down.
All right. I'll read the blessing for you while you go ahead and bless your own children. I touch your feet that you might stand against injustice. I touch your hands that you might reach for and grasp a great wisdom. I touch your ears that you might hear music in the sacred silence, or somewhat. I touch your eyes that you might see beauty in every living thing. I touch your lips that you might speak the truth. And finally, I touch your heart that you might know, love, and give love openly and courageously. Let's welcome our newest, youngest members. Congratulations.
Go back to your seat now, please.
I'm standing. I can't.
No. Go back to your seat. Go back to your seat. Go back to mom.
We will now joyfully sing out all of our children. This is the time in our service where we invite you to come forward and place a stone in the water.